Thank you, Randy and Travis, for organizing this. I wish that we could all meet in person, but obviously we're in unprecedented times right now. It's so weird. I don't know how many Zoom calls I've had in the past 2 months. If I could charge for every time I've had to do a Zoom call, I'd probably be very wealthy now. But we're certainly in unprecedented times, and yeah, I am here in Raleigh today. We are back in the short session. We came back on April the 25th, and our weeks are typically Tuesdays through Thursdays. So I'm going to get to go back home to King tonight and go back to my real estate life this weekend. We obviously are still trying to process everything that's going on with COVID-19, and I know that's the hot topic. This is certainly the weirdest session that I've ever had to be in. And I've been here since 2015. And let me also say that how much of an honor and privilege it is to serve in the North Carolina House and to serve with my colleagues, Sarah Stevens, who does represent Mount Airy. We share Surry County. My district for Surry includes Westfield down to Shoals. So I've got Westfield, Pilot, Shoals, Siloam, Eldora, South Dobson, and areas in between. But Sarah, she represents Elkin, Mount Airy, and the city of Dobson. So I just wanted to give her that plug there. And it's also a privilege to serve with Senator Berger, who represents part of Surry County in the state Senate, and Senator Deanna Ballard as well. So we're all down here. We're busy trying to deal with COVID-19 and trying to just manage our way through this haze that we're dealing with, because there's still so much uncertainty. There's still, my biggest objection so far with the governor and his executive orders is I don't believe that he's collecting enough data for us to open as quickly as we can. And so we're dealing with that. We're dealing with uncertainty from the federal government as far as what all they're going to offer to states to deal with the economic consequences of COVID-19. We got a revenue forecast this year. We have a $24 billion budget in North Carolina, and I'll talk about this later, but we got a revenue forecast that wasn't looking great. And it's really sad because North Carolina and America was doing very well up until COVID-19 and everything had to be shut down to deal with the virus. But I did want to talk about just quickly, we did pass about a couple weeks ago, the federal government had the CARES Act, and part of that CARES Act was direct appropriations to states for them to decide what to spend on for COVID-19 relief. And about a couple weeks ago, we passed that bill. So I did want to go through some of those points to share what all we've invested our resources into. The Pandemic Response Act, which is House Bill 1043, and you can look up any of these bills on the General Assembly's website, which is ncleg.net. But it provided about $1.6 billion in funding for North Carolina's medical providers, our school systems, and for broadband connectivity, because obviously, especially in the rural areas, we have an issue with broadband. In Surry County, I know there's an issue, and in Stokes County, where I live, in the northern part of Stokes County, you either have underserved or completely unserved people with broadband. And in Rockingham County, which I also have the privilege of representing, they have a huge, big red dot of no connectivity in the Bethany community, if you're familiar with that. This $1.6 billion is a good step forward, and I'll talk about the budget, like I said, a little bit later. But it provided some funding for testing, which I think is important with this virus. We need to know exactly where this virus is hitting. We need to know what particular industries, what particular areas of the state it's hitting. And so I think that's important for us. And like I said, increasing broadband access and providing electronic devices to our school systems for learning opportunities. I'm also providing funding for PPE, for personal protective equipment. So as it relates to the small business community, because I know I'm talking to the Chamber of Commerce here, our restaurants and hotels and travel industry are especially hurting right now, but every business is hurting when it comes to this virus. And so part of the $1.6 billion, $125 million, we've invested into the Golden Leaf Foundation to provide some emergency bridge loans to and by the way, my lights just went off. Obviously, I'm not moving a lot, so if y'all saw something just weird happen, that was my lights. But anyway, so $125 million to Golden Leaf Foundation so that they can help provide some emergency bridge loans for our small businesses so that they can help get back on their feet. And the reason that we picked the Golden Leaf Foundation, if those of you, I see Steve Yoakley's on the call, and he's very familiar, I'm sure, with Golden Leaf Foundation. They've got a good track record of getting money out very quickly and very effectively, and making sure that it goes to the right person. When you give it to a state agency, there's obviously some state guidelines that they have to follow, and state money doesn't get out as quickly as we would want it to. So Golden Leaf Foundation has a proven track record with the hurricane relief. The past 2 hurricanes, they were able to get the money out to those people very quickly. And so that's why the $125 million went to Golden Leaf. And I think that they'll do a good job with that. As it relates to our school systems, there's $75 million from that money for school nutrition, even with the shutdown. And I saw it firsthand. I actually spoke to a number of classes. You know, I usually do a lot of school visits, and it's been a lot different because now I've had to do Google Hangout school visits with kids. And so I was about a month ago, I was with Rockford Elementary School talking to that 4th grade. And so just because the school building may have been closed, school was definitely still in session in Surrey County schools and Mount Airy City schools and Elkin City schools. And they were doing a great job. Those teachers, I mean, I think teachers are working harder right now. They were working harder this semester than they've had to work all year, just because of the way they've had to adapt to this new technology and getting used to teaching kids remotely. It's truly has been a remarkable thing to see what they all have been able to do. But just like I said, just because the school building was closed doesn't mean that the schools weren't operating. And schools, as we all know, were still offering school lunches for the kids. And so $75 million for school nutrition to help reimburse those counties for that. $11 million to help improve K-12 internet connectivity. Obviously, that's a huge issue. $30 million for computers and electronic devices for our 112 local school districts in the state. $4.5 million for cybersecurity. Obviously, when you talk about providing connectivity, you have to have some cybersecurity there as well. And I'm the chair of the IT committee here at the General Assembly as well. And obviously that's, we need to put a huge emphasis on that because we do have a lot of cybersecurity threats that are out there. $1 million was also added for K-12 to improve internet access by installing Wi-Fi routers in school buses. I mean, just a small little simple thing that we could do to make sure that those kids, even if they weren't able to connect at home, they could find a way to connect with the school bus connectivity. $25 million was provided for our community college system. Obviously, they've been affected quite a lot from this. And obviously, when we hit into a recession, I spoke with David Shockley at Surrey Community College this week on a conference call, a Zoom call too. You know, with the recession, when it hits and people are out of work, unemployed, they want to go back and get a trade. And so they go back to Surrey Community College or they go to Forsyth Tech and they learn a new trade. And so enrollment, even though the economy is down, enrollment at the community college system will go up. And so they cannot afford to lose any more funding from the state because they're going to be so vitally necessary, especially in the upcoming years as we deal with this COVID-19 recession. There was $50 million to help enhance the PPE and $25 million to expand testing and contact tracing so that we can get to the bottom of COVID-19. There was a grand total of $9 million out of this federal money. And again, I want to stress that I've gotten a lot of questions about this money that we're spending. This is all federal money. This is from the CARES Act this was directed to the states for us to spend. And so it's not like we're taking it out of our state's rainy day fund, or we're not taking it out of our state's general fund. We're taking it from the Federal CARES Act, and we were directed that we had to spend it, because if we didn't spend it, the federal government was going to spend it. And so I would much rather the state spend it, because we are, you know, we know what we're doing, I think, better than the federal government. But anyway, $9 million to help expand rural broadband. That's been a big thing since I've been down here. I've been here for almost closing on 5 years now at the General Assembly. And like I said, we've got a lot of underserved areas or unserved areas. So $9 million to help expand rural broadband. And this week, actually yesterday, we passed a bill out of a committee, out of the Economic Support COVID-19 Committee, a bill to allow some funding for that to be for satellite broadband, because satellite technology has gotten better to deal with internet connectivity. So we'll do that as well. $19 million for foster care and child care, and $6 million for our food banks. We've got $20 million to Wake Forest University to expand the antibody study with COVID-19. $65 million to our state's rural hospitals. And then to our state and local government, because obviously our counties and our municipalities, they've taken a hit with the economy being shut down as well. So of that money that was in the bill, Surry County received $1.4 million. And then the counties and the municipalities are directed to meet. And I know in Stokes, and Steve probably can answer this, but in Stokes, I know the county manager and the city managers have all met to try to decide how to use that money. And it's got to be for COVID-19 reasons. And so, like I said, Surry County has gotten $1.4 million from that. The other things that I think are important to talk about, for one, is unemployment. Obviously, in North Carolina, we've had a huge spike in unemployment claims, which is, like I said, really sad considering how well the economy was doing up until February, March. But we've had a huge number of unemployment claims in North Carolina. And unfortunately, and I probably get, maybe 100 emails a day now, just with issues related to unemployment and receiving their unemployment. The state obviously had some bandwidth issues because nobody was prepared for this mass use of the unemployment system. So there was some bandwidth issues with the internet website, but there was also some administrative problems, and the governor actually let go the director of Division of Employment Security yesterday and replaced him with somebody that I hope can fix some of the problems that we're seeing at our unemployment agency, so that unemployment checks can go out quicker than they are right now. Like I said, I get probably about 100 emails a day related to unemployment, and we try to, and if you know of anybody that's having any issues,